no further ado, we'll turn to Mr. Hitchens.
Shall I not be erect? No, all right, I'll be seated. Shalom. There must be something very persuasive about those who put this meeting together, because they maybe break two of my usual rules. One is not to enter a house of worship without wearing a vast necklace of garlic around my neck. And the other is to do no work, no labor of any kind on the International Day of the Working Class May Day. So you maybe break two for a start. But hey, that's what commandments are for. There's always a danger of hucksterism if you have a provocative subtitle to a book you may write, such as the subtitle of my own most recent book, which says, after announcing that God is not great, that it's about how religion poisons everything. And people have asked me, you mean everything, as in chess, as in male sexuality, whatever the topic might be? The answer I give is, in a sense, yes, because religion, the religious cult, attacks us in our deepest integrity and morality. It says of us what it accuses atheists of saying, that we are nothing really but animals, fearful, naked, bare, forked creatures who, without divine permission, without the permission, in other words, of a supernatural dictatorship, a celestial North Korea, wouldn't know right from wrong, wouldn't be able to make a moral stand or announce a moral difference or do the right thing or elect to recommend that the right thing be done. Without supernatural guidance, we wouldn't know how to do it. In other words, it takes away our most basic essential integrity, or attempts to do so. In other words, yes, there's nothing that doesn't poison or doesn't threaten to poison, so that would be my opening proposition. I have evolved two brief challenges based on this argument, which is, in my view, the core argument of the religious and the believers. And I'll just briefly share them with you. I've tried this now in print, in person, in public, on the radio, on the television, and in innumerable other forums, and I haven't yet had a decent answer, but maybe tonight will be the night I am unhorsed. You have to propose a right action committed or a morally right statement made by a believer that could not have been made or performed or uttered by a non-believer. That's all you have to do. No one's been able to do it yet, but you are welcome to try, and if you succeed, then I'll tell you what the prize is, but not before. And then there's a corollary challenge, which is this: can you imagine or can you think of a wicked action undertaken or a wicked statement made by a believer because of their belief? That would not be attributable to an unbeliever, and you've already thought of one of those, haven't you? And before you're much older, you'll have thought of another wicked thing that has been done precisely and only because of faith, or an awful statement made. I'm not even going to specify. You've already thought of one. Everyone can do that. No one has any difficulty. While you ponder that, I feel I should add that the gravamen of the case against religion also depends upon its being our first, and that's to its credit, but for that reason also our worst attempt at an explanation of our lives, our ethics, our being, our nature. Religion is what we came up with as a matter of philosophy, as a matter of climatology, as a matter of seismology, as a matter of cosmology, as a matter of philosophy, all of these things when we didn't know very much, when we were in our fearful infancy, when we didn't know that we lived on a cooling planet with cracks in its crust that would lead to catastrophic events, when we did not know that diseases were spread by germs rather than by devils or by demons, when we didn't know that our planet was spherical, when we didn't know that it revolved around other heavy bodies. It comes from the time we knew nothing. It's our first and therefore our worst explanation, and it burdens us. It burdens us to this day with that terrible legacy, with that heritage of ignorance and fear and cruelty and stupidity that is so much celebrated in the holy books that have become themselves such a burden and such a threat in our lives today. And this still shows. To elaborate a little on the challenge I just made about the relationship between religion and immorality, wickedness, evil behavior, I think you will find that the genital mutilation community is almost entirely religious, that the suicide murder community is almost entirely religious, that the decision to teach students stultifying nonsense about creationism instead of evolution as in the biology lesson is entirely a theocratic community, and that though the secular and atheist communities are not free from blemish or wickedness of their own, that crimes that occur in all cultures, such as ethnic cleansing, for example, or virulent forms of nationalism and racism, find that religion is a tremendous force multiplier when they do break out, a great intensifier of such things. And again, I won't, because I only have the residue of my 7 minutes, I won't bore you with giving the examples. I know I only have one. I notice. I'll close then and simply say that in order to believe any of this, you have to believe the following: that our species, 75,000 years old in archaeological terms, that's when the first traces show up, 100,000 years old for sure. Francis Collins and Richard Dawkins all agree on that. It's not less than 100, could be as many as 200,000 or quarter of a million years old. You'd have to believe to be religious now, that for the first, if we give it 100 as the round figure, for the first 95,000 years or so, people are born, die, probably having lived about 20, 25 years. Most of their children will die younger than that, in horrible ways, probably of their teeth or of diseases they can't give a name to. But the struggle goes on, painful, agonizing, and full of fear, and full of panic, and ignorance, and superstition, and disease. But slow progress is made, perhaps, and then relapses as people fight over women, fight over territory, fight over gain, fight just in order to fight. And heaven watches this. Paradise watches this. The Creator watches this for 95,000 years with folded arms. And after about 5,000 years says, it's time to intervene. Preferably by human sacrifice methods, and only in the most backward and primitive and fearful parts of the Middle East. And that'll constitute revelation, and that is going to be the participation of God in human affairs. If you believe that, then you are willing, ladies and gentlemen, to believe absolutely anything, but you believe something that suggests that your Creator is someone both bungling and incompetent, and at the very, very least, callous, inhumanly cold and indifferent, and at the worst, actively wicked. And I would say that human progress doesn't proceed like that all the indices of human progress can be measured precisely by the better tradition by which we have emancipated ourselves from the belief in a totalitarian boss. And that the bulk of that work remains ahead of us, and some of it can be done even this evening. Thank you.